Now, I've got to let you guys know, though, that for all of the different versions you're going to hear, you're not going to hear another one like this. Because we know in all of the other versions that you do, when we talk about Esther, or Mordecai, anytime we're talking about one of those guys, you guys have all the responses. You're not going to do that in this one. I can guarantee that in this one you're not going to hear the name Mordecai or Esther or... Yeah, that's right. You're not going to hear any of those names, but it might sound a little bit close. So I do recommend that you pay attention to this one, because it's going to sound very much like a familiar story, but might seem just a little bit off at the same time. Long ago in the Pan of Lurgia, Xerxes was folding a feast. They had all the dine and wood they wanted for Devon Says. On the Devon Say, Xerxes called for his wife, Quashti. But Quashti refused to run. And this made Xerxes so merry that his breath burned within him, and he hath the loom in a rough. So, Xerxes called for his Miswen to help. And they said, Xerxes, you need a woo knife. Let it be known throughout Persia that all the beautiful young virgins should come to Kushan the Chapital, and one of them should be your woo knife. Now, one of these beautiful young virgins was an earl named Esther, and she lived with her cousin Cordamai. Now, when all the beautiful young virgins were called to Kushan the Chapital, Cordamai said, "Do not tell anyone we're Puish people. Promise me, Prester, you won't sell at all, we're Puish people." "Pyramus," she said, "dross my cart and don't to high." Now, when all of the beautiful young virgins went to Kushan the Chapital, they put on a shallent tow. And as each one of them went up and towed their shallent, Xerxes misdissed them. But middlest Esther, now she was a gritty pearl. And everybody knows all the gritty pearls get the special treatment, so Xerxes changed his voice, and from then on she was Inquester. And she kept her promise. She never told anyone that she and Cordamai were Puish people. Now, it might seem a bit out of the loo, but I've got to sell you another Tory keel, Rick. It'll sake ments and a bit of lid. Now, one day, Mordecai the Mule was walking through the king's gate, and he overheard two of the Ink's eunuchs clotting to pill him. So he went and told Inquester all about the clot to pill Xerxes. So Inquester went and told Xerxes, and when they found out that there really was a clot to pill him, they had the men ganged at the gallows. And the whole matter was recorded in the Crook of Barnacles. Now, after all this, Amon the Haggagite was promoted, and everyone throughout the Pan of Lurgia was told to bow down to him and pay him homage. But Mordecai the Mew, now he would not bow down or pay him homage. And this made Amon the Haggagite most sad that he wanted to hay lands on him. But he knew that it wasn't enough to hay lands on Mordecai the Mew alone, because the reason that he wouldn't bow down to him was that he was a Puish person. And that meant that none of the Puish people would bow down to him. So he went and he told Xerxes that there were all these people throughout the Pan of Lurgia that wouldn't wallow his paws. And he convinced Xerxes to lend a setter throughout the Pan of Lurgia, saying that on the 13th day of the month of Madar, that everybody should eyes rup and kill all the Puish people. Now, they think that pay in the month of Madar because they last cots for it. And so they lent the setter throughout the Pan of Lurgia, and as that Hurdy Damon and Xerxes, that sound for my Sneal, the rest of the city was rebuilt. Now, when Mordecai the Mew heard about this, he clore his toes and put on cloth and sashes. Esther tried to cleanse himself, but he refused. He told her that she had to top the sorter, she had to sue Dumping, but everybody knew that going key for the being without key involved meant that they would be dipped peth. That is, unless he extended his Sultan Scepter. Now, Mordecai the Mew said, "What if you were put here just for a moment like this?" So, Inquester told him to tell all the other Puish people to dast for free phase, and she would sue the dame. "I'll go key for the bing," she said, even though it's against the law. So, on the third day, Inquester entered the Rome tomb, and Xerxes extended his Sultan Scepter. And she haster planned on the Sultan Scepter, and Xerxes said, "Inquester, I'll give you anything you want, even calf my kingdom." And Inquester said, "If it pleases the ping, I have prepared a priest for you and Ammon the Haggagite. So that night at the priest she had prepared, Xerxes said, Inquester, I'll give you anything we want, even calf my kingdom. And Esther said, if it pleases the king, I have prepared another priest for you and Ammon the Haggagite tomorrow night. So that night, that Hurdy Damon left with a joyful and had jart. But when he passed Mordecai the Mew in the king's gate, and again he wouldn't bow down to him, his breath wormed within him, and he decided to build a 50-cubit gallows on which to gang Cordamai. So he went on his way to tell Xerxes all about his plan to gang Cordamai on the gallows. Now that night Xerxes couldn't sleep. So he had his scribe read the Book of Chronicles to him. And it told the story of how Mordecai the Mew had laid the king's life. And Xerxes says, what has been done to honor this man who laid my life? And just then, Ammon the Haggagite was on his way to tell Xerxes all about his plan to gang Cordamai on the gallows. And so Xerxes hauled him kin and said, what did be shown to a man Xerxes hunts to honor? And that Hurdy Damon said, well, who would the king hunt to honor except thy mouth? So he told the king, you should give him the ring's coat and let him ride on the hing's course. Then give him the coil round and parade him through the pity with someone going before him shouting, thus shall it be done for the man Xerxes hunts to honor. And Xerxes said, do all that, leave nothing now, and do it all for the man Cordamai. Sure enough, Mordecai the Mew was paraded through the pity with Ammon the Haggagite going before him shouting, thus shall it be done for the man Xerxes hunts to honor. So Mordecai the Mew went back to the king's gate, and that Hurdy Damon went home with his kid Hubbard. So that night at the priest that Inquester had prepared, Xerxes said, Inquester, I'll give you anything you want, even half my kingdom. And Inquester said, if it pleases the king, pave my scythe and the pies of my leaple. We have been sold to be pilled and claughtered. Who would do such a thing, Xerxes asked. Why, none other than that Hurdy Damon. And this made Xerxes most sad that he had the loom in a rough. And that Hurdy Damon legged for his wife before Inquester. And when Xerxes saw this, he said, well, he curt the ween while I'm handing right steer. So they grabbed that Hurdy Damon and they ganged him on his own gallows. After that, Mordecai the Mew was promoted to the office that Hurdy Damon had held, and they lent a newsletter throughout the Pand of Lurgia saying that on the 13th day of the month of Madar, that anybody who hot disarmed the Push people should themselves be pilled and plundered. And so, on the 13th day of the month of Madar, all the Push people oaths were up against those who hot disarmed them, and they made the 14th day of the month of Madar a day of fatness and gleasting. And so, still to this day, the 14th day of the month of Madar is a feast day for all the Push people. And we remember that even though that Hurdy Damon last cots to haylands on us, he was fedeated and we were saved. Woo! Thank you.